A good neighbor notices the small things, the faint hum of pipes threading through shared walls, the soft drip of water behind a counter, the scurrying of rodents in the attic at night. Footsteps echo where they shouldn't. Shadows linger just a moment too long near a window, and a faint, unsettling smell drifts through the air, hinting at something hidden, something wrong. A home is more than bricks and mortar. It is safe, memory, pride, sanctuary. Pride shows itself in freshly painted doors, in shingles mended with care, in gardens that bloom under careful hands. It is the reason neighbors wave hello. It is why children feel safe running along the street. But pride has a shadow. What begins as care can twist into something darker. Boundaries disappear. Respect curdles into control. A house meant to shelter can become a fortress, silent and mysterious. A neighbor who once smiled over the fence can become a source of fear, not with threats, but with quiet and creeping menace. This is the story of one such neighbor, a woman who poured herself into her home, her street, her community. She believed in beauty, in order, in connection. And yet, in the house next door, behind walls that seem ordinary, a darkness waited, patient, hidden, unstoppable, until it finally broke free. You're listening to Departed in Pennsyltucky, Bound by Walls, the case of Ann Hoover. Chapter 1, Walls of Promise. The house waited like a patient witness, its red bricks chipped and weathered, windows streaked with grime, yet stubbornly proud. In the mid-1990s, Ann Allison Hoover stood on the cracked sidewalk, hands buried in her pockets, eyes fixed on what would become her home. The air smelled faintly of dust and old wood, the lingering ghost of past tenants whispering through the hallways. But Ann didn't see neglect or decay. She saw possibility, waiting to be coaxed to life. She imagined the music room she would craft, the warm glow of polished floors under her feet, the laughter of friends spilling into the garden. She imagined a block reborn, neighbors nodding across fences, gardens blooming, streets vibrant with life once again. Ann had done this before, breathing life into forgotten spaces, nurturing beauty others had overlooked. But this house, this street, felt like the chance to leave a permanent mark. At her side, Nikki, her blind poodle, padded ahead with careful determination, ears twitching at every sound. Ann bent down to scratch behind Nikki's ears, smiling at the rhythm of trust between them. There was optimism here. Beneath it lingered a slight tension, a whisper of danger hidden behind walls that would soon betray the sanctuary she sought to create. The stage was set. The bricks, the gardens, the cracked sidewalks, All of it was innocent, only until the darkness nearby crept in. Next door, the duplex waited, sagging, shingles missing from the roof, paint peeling in long vertical strips like fingernail scratches. It whispered its own warnings. Every uneven board, every drooping gutter seemed to murmur caution, and yet Anne felt drawn to it, blind to the menace it silently harbored. The house next door would not remain a mere neighbor. It would become a shadow in her life, an enemy whose presence would twist pride into terror, care into obsession, and patience into horror. Chapter 2: Walls That Welcome. The arrival of a new owner always brings with it a promise of change, of renewal, of something better taking root where neglect once lived. But in this case, that promise was fragile, already strained beneath the weight of what the house truly was. From the outside, it looked worn, but salvageable. Up close, the truth revealed itself in layers: rotting wood, failing structures, damage that ran deeper than anyone could see at first glance. The kind of damage that didn't just require effort, but experience, time, restraint. Still, there was hope. A quiet, flickering optimism that someone, anyone, might finally breathe life back into its fading walls. Roy Kirk arrived with exactly that kind of energy. He stepped into the neighborhood with purpose, drawn not to what it was, but to what he believed it could be. Where others saw decay, he saw opportunity. The area was beginning to shift, slowly, almost gradually, towards something better, an up-and-coming neighborhood, a place on the edge of renewal, and Roy wanted in. From the beginning, he carried a restless intensity, the kind that filled a room the moment he entered. He didn't ease into the community. He immersed himself in. The neighborhood steering committee became his stage. It was a place where residents came together to rebuild, to support one another, to reclaim what had been lost. Roy didn't just attend those meetings. He dominated them. He spoke of transformation, of turning the block into something vibrant and alive again. He talked about creating spaces for children, about walkways that could invite people in, about restoring homes and pride to a neighborhood that had nearly forgotten itself. His enthusiasm was contagious. It moved through the room, igniting something in the people who listened. And for a moment, it felt real, possible. They believed him. They believed in him so completely that they handed him the responsibility to lead. Roy Kirk became the president of the housing club, a role that gave him influence, authority, and a voice in shaping the future. But beneath the surface, there were questions. Quiet ones, lingering. He didn't appear to have much money. The house he had taken on was more burden than opportunity. Some wondered how he had managed it at all. Maybe there was help. Maybe there wasn't. It didn't seem to matter to him. Because for Roy, this wasn't about property. It was about control. He had rented nearby before, always on the edge of ownership. But now, finally, he had something of his own, a structure he could shape, a space he could define entirely on his terms. And that dream consumed him. For a time, everything aligned. Roy and Ann Hoover stood on the same side of that vision. They shared the same goals: to restore beauty, to bring back order to the street, to create something lasting. Gardens, facades, fences. Small acts of care that promised something bigger. It connected them, bound them even. Two neighbors working towards the same future, their lives intertwined by shared walls, shared space, shared hope. But it was a fragile bond, because beneath the optimism, something else was forming. Excitement began to blur into impatience. Ambition edged closer to obsession. And the dream that had drawn him there, the one that had inspired an entire room to believe, began to harden into something rigid, something consuming. The neighborhood saw the energy. What they didn't see is how quickly that energy could turn, how easily vision could become fixation, and how beneath the surface of progress, the first cracks had already begun to spread. The house wasn't the only thing to break. And in the quiet spaces between hope and reality, the shadows were already gathering. Chapter 3: Walls Between Us. At first, the collaboration seemed effortless. Roy helped when he could, and Anne returned the favor. Coordination was essential. They shared walls, a roof, a foundation. For a while it worked. They weren't enemies. They were neighbors, even allies. Tools were shared. Plans were discussed. Repairs coordinated. One side's failure could pull the other down. Every hammer strike, every nail driven, every whispered strategy was a fragile thread holding the block together. For a fleeting moment, the neighborhood seemed capable of awakening from its long slumber, vibrant, alive, and whole. Ann Hoover was at the heart of that effort, meticulous and patient, investing her time, her energy, and her care. Side by side, they worked towards the same dream: to restore not just houses, but pride, community, and life itself. But ambition alone doesn't build a home. Cracks began to appear. 6 months in, the contrast between the two houses was stark. Anne's home had transformed into a showpiece, floors gleaming, doors freshly painted, gardens blooming under her careful hands. It radiated warmth, pride, and life. Roy's duplex, however, told a different story. Projects were started, abandoned, left half-finished, and forgotten. Tools and building materials cluttered every corner, and piles of debris accumulated like silent warnings. Roy struggled to focus, abandoning repairs, ignoring leaks, and leaving damage to grow unchecked. The charm of their early partnership eroded. The rhythm of shared work, once a harmony, became a tension. Each abandoned gutter, each sagging shingle, each neglected repair echoed into Anne's home, straining her walls, her pride, her patience. Anne tried to intervene. She offered economic solutions, even proposing to buy Roy's property outright to relieve his burden. Each gesture, reasonable and generous, twisted in Roy's mind into a conspiracy designed to push him out. Each gesture, reasonable and generous, twisted in Roy's mind into a conspiracy designed to push him out. By the end of the year, he had purchased 3 properties, none of which he could maintain. His failures were no longer contained to his own home. They began bleeding into hers, affecting not only her property, but her sense of safety and order. The neighborhood, once a place of promise, now trembled under the shadow of neglect next door. And so, what had began as a partnership and shared vision slowly tipped towards obsession, resentment, and the first whispers of something darker, waiting silently just beyond the walls. Chapter 4: Walls of Friction. Rainwater poured into Anne's home through gutters Roy had torn off. Mold crept across the walls. Rot spread into the floors. Anne poured herself into that house, not just into the walls and floors, but into what they meant. She believed that a neighborhood could be something better if someone cared enough to make it so. And she did. That's who she was. What frustrated Anne wasn't cruelty. It was resistance. Roy wouldn't cooperate, wouldn't listen, wouldn't fix what was clearly falling apart. When the damage from Roy's house spread into hers, the neighborhood acted. Anne and the other residents removed Roy from his position as president of the housing committee. Next door, Roy's house began to decay in ways that were impossible to ignore. Windows sagged, paint peeled, trash piled high. The air carried a foul smell. It looked abandoned, neglected, as if it had been abandoned long before he even moved in. And then came the signs that couldn't be ignored. Rodents. At first, just hints. Movement behind walls. Tiny scratches at night. But soon they spread, and it stopped being an eyesore. It became a threat. Rodents multiplied, scuttling across floors, gnawing in the dark. Anne's communication skills were formidable. 5 years as a telemarketer at the Pittsburgh Symphony, 6 more elsewhere. But Roy Kirk was unreachable. His personality had shifted. He was volatile. Anne was afraid. His eyes followed her. His words accused her. Every neighborhood complaint, every intervention only pushed him further, into isolation. What had once been a disagreement hardened into something darker, something unstable. This was no longer about repairs, fines, or property lines. Something deeper was unraveling. Anne refused to back down. She had worked too hard, invested too much. She contacted the city, filed complaints, and took the steps necessary to protect her home. Each action tightened the pressure on Roy. Each consequence pushed him further into his own shadow. The first complaint escalated into fines, deadlines, and legal threats. The housing authority required immediate repairs. Roy's response was not compliance, it was blame. To him, Anne wasn't enforcing accountability. She was betraying him. Trash attracted vermin. Rotten wood in the yard posed hazards. Every code violation imaginable had been triggered by his negligence. Anne's lawsuit to enforce repairs resulted in a $49,000 fine, not to bankrupt him, but to restore safety and order. Roy refused. In his mind, this was personal. Chapter 5: Walls of Encroachment. The city threatened further fines. Roy ignored them. His properties deteriorated. Trash grew higher. Rodents buried in walls. Extension cords stretched across yards, powering industrial lights at night. Anne meticulously documented everything. Photographs captured water stains, rot, and vermin. Neighbors prepared statements. Each image, each note, each day of observation heightened the tension. Roy's paranoia escalated. Every animal death, every noise, every minor mishap became Anne's fault. He accused neighbors of conspiring against him. The boundary between reality and obsession blurred. The night before the final hearing, Anne prepared for court, exhausted and distracted. She could feel the pressure closing in, the culmination of months of frustration, fear, and neglect. The stage was set. A collision between order and obsession was inevitable. The calm before the storm hung thick over the street, an uneasy, foreboding pause. And in the darkness of Roy Kirk's failing homes, the first shadows of the horrors to come had already begun to stir. Chapter 6: Walls of Secrets. The next morning, neighbors arrived to pick up Anne for court. No answer. Panic tightened in their chests. One desperate neighbor crawled through a window, slipping carefully inside. Once through, he pushed the front door open just enough to let others follow, every creak of the hinges echoing in the still air. Everything was where it shouldn't have been. Anne's keys rested on the counter. Her shoes were neatly by the door. Her purse remained on a chair. She hadn't left in a hurry, or at all. Something was wrong. The house was searched methodically, room by room. There was no sign of Anne. Then it appeared. A smear of crimson across the floor, dark and glistening in the dim light. The neighbors froze. Fear coiled in their stomachs. Blood, and nothing else to explain it. Hands shook as one reached for a phone. The police had to be called. Once police arrived, officers approached Roy Kirk's home. The house was silent and oppressive. They knocked, called out, waited, but no answer came. The front door hung ajar. The smell hit first. Rot, filth, decay, seeping from the walls and floorboards. Every officer instinctively knew that whatever lay within had been festering far too long. Darkness swallowed the space. No electricity, only faint natural light filtering through grimy windows. Flashlights pierced the gloom, every step careful over creaking floorboards, scattered debris, and the thick stench of filth. Then came the first impossible horror, a low, terrible hissing. In the bathtub lay a snake, coiled and enormous, at least 8 or 10 feet long. Its deliberate, threatening movements made it impossible to ignore, a living warning in a house already consumed by chaos. Then Roy Kirk appeared in the hallway, barefoot, filthy, blood crusted across his feet and smeared on his skin. His gaze was vacant and detached, as if the officers weren't even there. There was no explanation, no cooperation, only the cold acknowledgement that the situation had already spun out of control. He tried to warn them away, but his presence only intensified the unease. Following an extension cord snaking across the house, the officers descended into the basement. Industrial lights illuminated rows of cages stacked like grim trophies. The smell hit immediately, raw, metallic, mingling with the damp rot of the old house. Maggots crossed across some of the dead animals. Others were still alive, hissing and clawing in panic. Then, between the two buildings, a dark opening appeared, a tunnel beneath the shared foundation. Its purpose became horrifyingly clear, a hidden passage carved for something unspeakable. The basement tunnel revealed the unimaginable. Anne's body had been dismembered with brutal precision, her torso sawed in half just below the rib cage, her arms and legs severed and sealed in separate plastic bags with duct tape. Despite the carnage, there were no signs of struggle anywhere in her home. Every corner spoke of meticulous planning, patience, and a mind detached from reason. Every detail, the blood, the filth, the cages, the snake, the tunnel, made it clear that authorities were witnessing the aftermath of a methodical and monstrous crime. The house was no longer merely a building. It had become a monument to obsession and horror. The officers retreated carefully, minds reeling. Outside, the neighborhood that had once been full of quiet promise was now a stage for terror. Every element within Roy Kirk's walls, a warning of what pride and obsession could create when left unchecked. The chapter closed on the street outside, neighbors staring silently, hearts pounding, the morning sun doing nothing to lift the shadow that had just fallen. Chapter 7: Walls That Hide. By the time investigators secured the scene, the shock of discovery had already begun to settle into something heavier. Not confusion, understanding. What they were looking at was not random. It was constructed. The layout of the homes, the hidden tunnel beneath the foundation, the deliberate use of space, of separation, of concealment. None of it was accidental. Every piece suggested time, patience, and a mind that had been working towards something long before anyone realized. Inside, forensic teams moved with precision. Measurements were taken. Photographs captured what words never could. Each item was tagged, cataloged, and removed, not as isolated objects, but as parts of a larger design. The absence of chaos in Ann Hoover's home stood in stark contrast to what had been uncovered next door. No signs of struggle, no forced movement. It suggested control from the very beginning, compliance, or the inability to resist what already set in motion. Investigators began building the sequence, not just what happened, but how, and more importantly, why it had been allowed to unfold without interruption. The answer was as unsettling as the crime itself. Everything had been hidden in plain sight, behind walls, beneath floors, inside a life that, to the outside world, had already begun to unravel long before it turned violent. Roy Kirk was taken into custody, but whatever clarity investigators hoped to gain from him never came. His words were fragmented, inconsistent, detached from reality in the same way his home had been detached from the world around it. And then, before the process could fully begin, he ensured it never would. Inside the transport wagon, restrained and alone, Roy Kirk used his belt to create a noose, fastening it to the metal frame. In a confined space, with no room for error, he carried out one final deliberate act. By the time officers opened the doors, the opportunity for answers was gone. What remained was evidence without explanation. A crime fully mapped, but never truly answered. No confession, no moment of clarity. Only fragments assembled by those left behind to make sense of something that refused to make sense at all. In the days that followed, the street felt quiet again, not with peace, but with absence. The houses still stood, unchanged to anyone passing by, but what had been uncovered within them had altered everything. Some walls are built to protect. Others are built to hide. And sometimes they do both, until it's far too late. Epilogue. Walls that remember. Ann Hoover's life was never meant to be reduced to the way it ended. She was a music teacher, a fundraiser, a loyal friend, and a devoted neighbor. She believed in beauty where others saw decay. She restored her home with her own hands, nurtured her street with quiet determination, and inspired the people around her to believe that something broken could be made whole again. She built something, not just a house, but a sense of place. And then it was taken from her. Those who knew Anne didn't just grieve her. They struggled to understand how something so senseless could happen to someone so full of life. The violence didn't just end her life. It shattered the idea that effort, kindness, and community were enough to keep you safe. And in the end, the reason feels almost unbearable in its simplicity. It wasn't worth it. 2 lives gone. Or something so small, it almost disappears when you say it out loud. A leaky roof, water slipping through wood and plaster, dripping, quiet, fixable, until it wasn't. In the years that followed, the house that Anne fought so hard to protect was stripped down to its bones. The city took it, gutted it, rebuilt it, made it into the kind of home that finally matched the neighborhood she had always believed it could be. But she never saw it. She never walked through those finished rooms, never heard the silence where the damage used to be, never saw the street become what she had worked so hard to create. She was gone long before it was made right. And maybe that's the part that stays with people the longest. Not just what was done, but how easily it could have been avoided. Because nothing about this had to happen. Not the fear, not the violence, not the tunnel beneath the house, and not the ending. Today, in Ross Township, 5 acres of land stand in her name. Anne Allison Hoover Memorial Park. There are walking trails there, trees, open space, a place where things grow, a place where people come to breathe, a place that feels the way her life did. But even there, if you stand still long enough, there's a quiet truth beneath it all. This isn't just a memorial. It's a reminder that sometimes the worst things don't begin with violence. They begin with something small, something ignored, something left to rot. And by the time anyone realizes what it's becoming, it's already too late. This concludes this week's episode of Departed in Pennsyltucky. I'm your host, Andrea Dudak. Tune in next time for more true crime talk without the Valley Girl squawk.